We are also providing a live transcript at the bottom. If you click on transcript at the bottom, you'll be able to activate that transcript and you'll be able to see that within Zoom. We have over 200 of you guys registered today, so we'd like you to please, please, please use the Q&A so that we can manage your questions. And if we don't by chance get to them all, we can at least provide them to you after the fact. Once we're able, we will be posting this presentation, any videos, the Q&A. But once we get that permission, we will do that. At any time after this training, if you have any questions or concerns, please email us at subawardreporting@gsa.gov. So let's get started. I'll turn it over to you, Salome.
Thanks so much, Allison. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to join us. We know that change is often scary, and there are significant changes coming to the FSRS environment for the users. So, over the period of the next several weeks, we're going to have multiple different training sessions available to help bring you along so that when we get to the point where we flip the switch and turn off the legacy system, you are ready to go. Next slide, please. The session that we are conducting today is specifically tuned for people who use the current bulk upload capability that exists in FSRS. What exists today in FSRS is basically an FTP. You take a spreadsheet and FTP it. That is going away, and it's going to be replaced by an API. And we're going to go more into that in just a moment. But the purpose of the session today is to make sure that you understand the new reporting terms that we're using, because we all should be on the same page and speaking the same language as we move forward. We also want to make sure that you understand what options are available to you as somebody who is submitting subaward reports. We're going to show you the tools and identify the skills that you need depending on which path you choose, and help you determine the best option for you when this goes live later this spring. And then finally, we will also let you know how to reach out for help. Reach out to us for help throughout the transition. If you could go ahead and advance, Jason. And Vanna, we have got a poll to kick us off. There we go. And we do appreciate participation with the polls because it helps us to understand how well our message is being consumed, and it makes sure that we're getting through and that you're getting the data that you need. So. All right. What percentage? Oh, 74% so far. I see it, Ivana. Okay. We'll give folks just another minute. All right. Jason, I think we can go ahead and go on. And Ivana, apologies. Were we going to discuss the poll results, or are we just collecting?
That's completely up to you. I can reshare them if you like.
No, it popped back up on my screen. So,
yep.
So I do want to point out to those of you who say you do not make subaward reports, you are welcome to stay on this session. Because it's possible you don't do it now, but you may need to do it in the future. I understand that. So I just want you to be sure that you're here because we're speaking to something that you specifically need, and it'll have value for you. So, but thank you everybody for your participation. So starting off, let's talk about at a high level what is changing when we move the subaward reporting to SAM. Jason, there we go. If you've been to some of the other presentations that we've done so far, and there's only been a couple, so if you haven't, that's fine, because we're going to have a lot more coming up. But basically, we are going to take FSRS, the FAFSA subaward reporting system, and we are going to move its capabilities into SAM later this spring. So who does this impact? This impacts anybody who currently uses the FSRS.gov system, anybody who searches for subaward report information or has to enter it to be in compliance with FAFSA. And I'm sorry, one of my cats is deciding she wants to be part of the show. Okay, next slide, please. Some of the benefits that we are bringing to our users as a part of this transition is that, as you know, a lot of your procurement and entity information is already in SAM, and this gives you another layer of data that is going to be accessible for you to work with and manipulate within SAM. You'll be able to share reporting responsibilities across your team. One of the biggest benefits is that if you report for multiple entities, you can do them all from your single SAM account. You do not have to have 42 different emails because you've got 42 different entities that you report for. We also are introducing warnings of potential errors because we know there's some confusion around the policy, and as a result, there's a lot of over-reporting that takes place. So this is going to help you comply with the regulations more easily and not over-report. So we're going to end up with better data quality out of it. Okay, next slide, please. So let's go over some subaward reporting terms, some glossary items, if you will. Next slide. When we talk about a user account, we mean your individual account in SAM.gov that you created using your work email address, most likely. There is often some confusion between an entity record and a user account or a system account. So we want to make sure that those three are clearly defined. So when we speak to user accounts, that's when I go to SAM and I log in as salome.gorbani@gsa.gov. That's my user account. And then the roles that are on my account dictate what I can and cannot do within the system. And in your instance, since you're not government, it also controls, the roles also control what you can do for the entities wherever you are, whenever you have roles for in SAM. When we talk about a system account, for those of you who intend to move forward with APIs, to do that in SAM, you need to have what we call a system account. And it's basically it's basically like a joiner, right? Because you're going to have your internal system at your environment, and that system wants to talk to SAM, and all of the logistics in terms of where you're coming from, what your static IP address is, your roles, and what type of information you are accessing, and what you're allowed to upload, and all of that is going to be tied into the system account. And for those of you who are going to definitely move forward with our API, we will be having additional sessions to help you get your system account set up and make sure that your system account API key is generated so that it can be used. But generally, APIs are for people who do large volumes of data. Next slide, please. APIs, think of API as just kind of it's technically a protocol, but like when you use chat, that's handled by one protocol within the interwebs, right? Using a website is a different protocol. So this is just another tool or a method by which data is transmitted. And that's all we mean by API. And it is a very specific tool with a specific capability and a specific language, which we refer to as JSON. And that's basically referring to how the data in it is formatted. But the API is the tool that gets the data from point A to point B. And then your API key, it's kind of like an encryption key, except instead of encrypting the data, it's identifying you. It's a security tool that identifies you, say that you are you and you get to act on behalf of this entity. And we recognize that you are you, that you have authority on behalf of the entity, and we can allow the data transfer to proceed. Next up, please. And finally, many of you who have been longtime users of SAM may recognize the alpha.sam.gov. That is our test bed. It is a test environment. It is completely independent from the production system, but it looks and acts like it, but it's just got dummy data and expired data in it. And those of you who are going to be using the APIs, we are going to help you get everything set up in our test environment in alpha.sam and make sure everything works. So that way, when we are ready for you to come to the production site to start getting things prepared and teed up, you know what needs to be done, and we're all good to go. One thing I do want to point out is the alpha.sam.gov looks exactly like the production SAM, and that even includes that little tab at the top of your browser. So you have to be very careful, and the only real way to tell where you are is by looking at the URL. It should say alpha.sam.gov. All right, next please. All right, so now we're going to go over some options for you in terms of how you're going to create your subaward reports in SAM. So the first option we want to talk about is the user interface. When we talk about a user interface, that's when we say you as an individual, you log into SAM and you click the path that gets you to the place where you can upload the information, and you're going to do it manually. Some of the benefits of doing it this way is that your individual account, you automatically get a list of all your prime contracts there. And you'll have an area that we call a workspace. And in that workspace, all of your eligible reports are going to be there waiting for you. You can just pick a prime from a list and start the subaward for it. And we also provide the data for your subs executive compensation. If it's available in SAM, it will come in. And again, it's all accessed through your regular SAM.gov use. And what I would like to do at this point is play a quick video, which is going to show you what the user interface looks like, because you can't make a decision unless you have something to compare it to. So we did a live demo, and I'm going to start it now, and it's going to run for about 6 or 7 minutes, I believe.
Hello. In this video, I'll be showing you how non-federal users can work with subaward reports in SAM.gov starting in spring 2025. Non-federal users will need the data entry role under the entity reporting domain to use these new features. They can also access these features if they have the administrator role with subcontract reporting permission. There are 2 new widgets in the workspace for subcontract reporting, one for contract awards and one for assistance awards. For this demo, we will take a look at contract awards. You can select the first See All button to navigate to your contract awards page. This page displays all of your prime awards in a single view. The search bar lets you enter a contract ID to create or update a subcontract report. Results show up under the search bar. Selecting that result takes you to the details page for that contract, which displays a lot of helpful data for the prime contract that will be used in the subcontract report. From this page, you can create a new subcontract report or view previously submitted subcontract reports. The second See All button takes you to the Subcontract Reports page. This page displays all of your subcontract reports in a single view. As I said before, the Contract Awards page provides a list of all your contract awards in a single place. The top of the page includes easy navigation buttons between the Contract Awards page and the Subcontract Reports page. You can filter your contract awards by selecting one of the drop-downs and entering your search criteria, or you can search the list by entering a keyword. The list changes based on what you enter. The Contract Awards page lets you choose how you want to view your summary. You can choose between a table or summary format. In the table format, simply select the entry in the table to open the contract details page for that item. In the summary view, each entry has a View Contract button, which also opens the contract details page. One of the big improvements that we've made to subcontract reporting in SAM.gov is that you no longer need to manually add or claim your prime awards for them to be visible in your individual workspace. SAM presents you with all available prime awards based on your user role. Other users in your entity who have the data entry or administrator role with subcontract reporting permission under the entity reporting domain will be able to see these in SAM.gov, significantly improving your ability to collaborate. Let's see what happens when we select a contract. When the contract details page displays, you can see all of the contract's available information. You can use the left navigation to jump to specific sections on the page. By selecting subcontract reports, you'll see all of the available subcontract reports that have been created for this contract. This section includes the ability to filter and search the selected subcontracts. From here, you can create a new subcontract report. For now, we'll skip this step. Now, let's take a look at the Subcontracts Reports page. This Subcontracts Reports page has the same filter, search, table, and summary features as the Contract Awards page. All of these operate in the same way. So how do you create new subcontract reports? There are two ways. Let's show you how to do so from the Contract Details page first. After you locate the contract you need, select the New Subcontract Report button to open the new report page. From the new report page, you'll notice the prime contractor information is automatically populated based on the contract you've selected. We designed the data entries so you can move through the pages before completing all the information. This lets you look ahead. Just remember, you cannot submit the subcontract report until you provide all required information. You then navigate through the form entering all pertinent details for the subcontract. For the subcontractor, you can enter either the Unique Entity ID, UEI, or the entity name. SAM.gov will check to see if the information is the same as the prime contractor or if it is a valid entity. You will get an error message for any incorrect information you enter. Executive compensation has been improved. If the subcontractor has an entity registration in SAM.gov, the executive compensation data will be pre-populated on the published report but not in the data entry process. It cannot be changed for the subcontract report data entry screen. You may also need to enter executive compensation. If the information isn't in SAM.gov, simply follow the workflow and enter the information provided by the subcontractor. For subcontract details, enter all required information about this subcontract. When you submit your subcontract report, the amount you enter in the subcontract amount field will be used as a check against the total contract amount. If there is an issue, you will get a warning when you submit the report. This is a new feature that we developed to help avoid errors and duplicative reporting. If you accidentally put a future subcontract date, you will get an error and need to correct it. A subcontract description is also required. For the place of performance, you can select a variety of options. The first three options use information from SAM to populate the city, state, zip code, and congressional district if it's available. If you choose another location, you can look up the congressional district automatically by providing the street address. The street address information helps derive the congressional district, and SAM.gov does not display or use it in the submitted subcontract report. For non-US locations, we have also included a way to directly enter information for them. For this demonstration, we're going to continue with a US-based entity. When you have entered all of your information, select the Next button to get to the review screen. After reviewing your information, select the Submit button to submit your report. You may see an Are You Sure You Want to Submit page. This page provides a list of all potential issues with your subcontract report. These are helpful warnings to be sure that the subcontract information that you are submitting is accurate. If you need to fix the report, select the Update This Report button. After you review the list, if you determine everything is okay, select the Continue button to submit the report. For now, we'll select Continue and see the Report Published page. This page includes a subcontract summary for the prime contract and how it relates to this and all associated subcontracts. The second way you can create a subcontract report is from the Subcontract Reports tab. From here, you'll want to select the New Subcontract Report button. The biggest difference from the previous method is that you'll have to provide the prime contract information since you did not start the new subcontract report from a selected prime contract details page. To do so, enter at least the first 3 characters of the contract ID and select the contract from the drop-down menu. If the contract you are using has multiple IDVs, you can associate an IDV with this prime contract in the drop-down menu. When you're working on your reports, they are saved in draft form as you navigate through the data entry screens. So if you don't know some information or want to take a break, you can come back to the subcontract report list and find it in draft status. To continue, simply select the report in the table to open it. From the Review and Publish subcontract report page, you'll notice update buttons next to each section of the report. To edit that specific section, select the Update button to be taken to the relevant data entry step. You can also continue to use the left navigation to navigate through the report as well. If you modify a subcontract or make a mistake on a published report, you can modify it after it was published. Locate the report in the Subcontract Reports list and select it to open the Subcontract Details page. Select the Update button. The prompt "Verify that you want to update this report" is normal and ensures that you didn't do this by mistake. Select Update to continue or Cancel to quit. The report is set to reopen status in the system. The only fields you cannot update are those associated with the prime contract. This data cannot be changed in the subaward reporting workflow. Every other field includes an Update button. Select the Update button next to the area you need to update. You can then submit it as normal. In SAM.gov, you can also delete reports you have submitted. To do so, navigate to the Subcontract Reports, open the subcontract report that you would like to delete, and select the Delete button. The prompt asks you to confirm deletion. To delete the report, select Delete. SAM.gov sends data and any records you delete to USA Spending every 24 hours. That wraps up our discussion of how to create and update subcontract reports. Most of the information in this video is also applicable to the assistance awards found in the Federal Assistance widget in the workspace. We will cover creating subaward reports for assistance awards in a different session. Thanks for watching.
And I know a lot of you are going to ask, and yes, we are going to be posting that video. Those of you who have seen some of the other videos that we produced, you know it's on the GSA YouTube. Basically, GSA has their own account, and we're basically dealing with a backlog right now, but we are working to get videos and others like this out there. So you'll be able to see each of these things that we're talking about over the next several weeks. You'll be able to see them step by step, basically on demand, whenever you want to. And I think we can go to the next slide, please. So for those of you who do hundreds and thousands of reports, I know I've seen this in some of the questions that have been coming in. You're definitely going to need to lean toward the API. And the API is really just 180 degrees. It is completely different than the bulk uploading that you're used to. You're not uploading a file. You're using the tool to transmit the data. In the call, we mentioned that JSON format. Basically, the call is going to have all your data already formatted, shoots it through the API, and SAM will ingest it. And once the APIs are set up and tested and known to be working, once that is done, the level of effort should really go down. And one thing that we know has been a problem and a concern is the fact that in the past, when you upload these spreadsheets, you guys get a lot of errors. The success rate is low and is frustratingly low, and this is going to take care of that. And if you do get errors back, it's going to be very specific in terms of what the issue is or where the format is. And the only failures that are going to occur is if there is an error in the data. And again, the API connection is going to be much more secure than what we have today. And that's a concern for everybody, when it comes to data integrity. Next slide, please. So what do you need to know to use the API? Next slide. So what you're going to need on your end is you're going to have some type of system or database that has your subaward data that you want to report. That system needs to be able to use a REST API with the JSON formatting. That system needs to have a static IP address or a range of IPs. This is a requirement in order to establish the system account. And you'll probably need to coordinate with your IT shop on this in order to make it static. For those of you who are not technologically inclined, generally addresses are assigned remotely, and they just rotate based on what's available at the time. So you definitely need to talk to your IT shop and get yourself a static IP address for that server. When you're ready to test, you're going to write the API call. For those of you who are maybe smaller businesses but do a lot of sub-reporting and you decide to go down the path for the API, if you do not have in-house IT, then you may need to get the services of an IT specialist to help you set it up. But we will be having additional sessions over the next several weeks to walk you through each step and make sure that you successfully test in our test environment. And just so that there is no confusion, the spreadsheets, once we go to this as a way of data entry, the spreadsheets are gone and no longer able to be used for data uploads. The spreadsheets will be gone. Next slide, please. So how do you know which path is the best path for you? Next slide, Jason. So here's the 411, as they say. Prime awardees, you've got to report your information about new or modified subawards eligible under FFATA by the end of the following calendar month. So if you make a new or modify an existing subaward, then let's say you did it in mid-April, you have until the end of May to actually complete the report. So it's the end of the following calendar month. You're going to modify your subawards by updating the original report with the new information. I believe in the legacy FSRS, you had to, I don't think it was open to edit, and these records are editable. So you will be able to go in and open up the previous submitted award and make any updates that you need. One area that we know there's a lot of confusion on that we see in the existing system, we put a few things in bold to kind of call your attention to them. Multi-year subawards only need one report with the full obligated amount. So that's your baseline right there. Some of the tips for accurate reporting is you're going to report on anything new or modified subawards. You will update your existing reports. For example, if you make a change to the prime in the subaward report, or you're going to make modifications to the subaward report itself, you're updating existing records. You're not creating new ones. You do not have to report monthly on your subawards. Once the subaward has been reported, you only need to update if there are changes. And remember that you are reporting your obligations, not your payments. And each subaward, again, only gets reported once. Next slide, please. So at the end of the day, the decision you make comes down to two things. How much volume do you have? And is that volume, based on what you've seen for manual data entry, is it worth the sweat equity and technological investment to set up and use the API? those I think are going to be the main factors in terms of which path you decide to go down. Next slide, please. So if you do decide that an API is the path you want to go down, you're familiar with APIs, for example, or you want to see what they're about, can somebody put this link in the chat for everybody for the specifications? APIs have what we call specs or specifications, and they're basically the instruction manual for the techies to know how to create the API and what fields it can use and what they can do with it. And we have published our specifications. The specifications are in an open site called open.gsa.gov /API. And it scares me that I remember that. But when you go there, there's a whole list of different APIs. All of ours begin with SAM.gov, so they're easier to find. And you'd be looking for the one specific to the upload, the API for uploading. And again, as we move forward in the next several sessions, we're going to help you get set up in our test environment. I do want to highlight, especially for those of you who are here gathering data to take back to your entities, we are requiring everybody to have a successful connection in our test system before we move you over to help you get set up in production. We're doing this to make sure you've got the support you need to have the best experience, user experience to get through this process as you can. So we are here to help you every step of the way. Over the next several sessions, we're going to help you get created with your user account in SAM. We're going to get you set up with the roles that you need. We will set up your system account and help you test the connection and the ability to upload. We will also point out to you, when we're doing stuff in testing, I've got God rights, and, with great power comes great responsibility. So, I can get you what you need in our test environment because it's not real data. When it comes time to get to production, there's going to be a couple approval points that are outside of our scope of control, but we will help you navigate through them to make sure that you get where you need to be. Next slide, please. All right, a poll to wrap up. Let's go, Ivana. And we will be opening up for questions in just a few minutes. Ivana, I haven't seen the oh, there it goes. Thank you. As we get over the next several weeks, for those of you who are not yet on our Interact, it's basically where we post updates. It's like a place we put blogs and announcements and things like that. If somebody could put the Interact link in the chat as well, please. But basically, you want to subscribe here because anytime we make an update, you want to be notified. And this is where we're going to be announcing upcoming sessions. So we want to make sure that you get the information that you need. Previously, we have just been emailing the people that we know currently use bulk updates. But obviously, we know that there are going to be some who want to use it in the future who don't use it now, for example. So we want to make sure word gets out to everybody. Okay. And the majority are either somewhat or very confident. For those of you who are not confident, again, if you come up with questions, we'll be showing you where you can reach out to us if you have questions, and we can help you get to the point where you're able to make the decision that's best for you and for your entity and with your situation. Can we go ahead and advance, please? So this last bit is where I do the shameless plug for testing and for participation with us and with my teams. Can we go to the next slide, please? We're just reminding folks that whenever you need support today, you go to the Federal Service Desk. And once the transition's complete, that will still be where you go to get help and support for this, in addition to anything else having to do with SAM. They've got a live chat, or you can just create an incident and put in all the information and they'll get back with you. And they've also got the live calls. Next slide, please. This is my shameless plug. We have what we call user acceptance testing. And what that means is we load the latest and greatest changes into our alpha.sam.gov site. And then we invite the users to come in and play with it, try to break it, just act like users, do what you do. And we also do provide instructions for the specific functionality that we're asking you to test. But this is our best way of ensuring and making sure that when we put this code in production, it's going to work, it's going to deliver the value that we intended for you, and that we catch any issues, before it gets out into the wild. If you would like to participate in testing, we do testing against changes for all of the capabilities in SAM. We have some testing coming up now for entity registration stuff. And of course, we're still testing on the FSRS stuff. If you click on can we put the link in, because I know the slides are going to go out today, but for those of you who don't want to wait, there is a Google form that our my test team uses to determine what testing is best suited for you. And we ask you to tell us your areas of interest, and we make sure that the testing aligns with that. And then that last bullet is actually incorrect. We're running testing on various capabilities all the way through April, I would say. If you're having questions specifically related to the transition itself, if you've got questions, any feedback in terms of things you would like to see that we're not providing, you can reach out to my team at subawardreporting@gsa.gov. And I believe that's the last slide, Jason. Oh, I lied. We have open help sessions that are every other Friday, beginning Valentine's Day and running through May or as long as they're needed. And you can register for them here. There's we have one session we're repeating for each of those, I believe, but the instructions should be clear on I think it's Eventbrite, or it may just be with Zoom. And then again, we are going to have more information coming up starting on the 3rd. We actually did last week, I want to say, we did a session like this, but it was on the basic user roles, that your role when you log into FSRS, how to get that functionality into SAM. And we talked about the automated tool. That tool is going to be live on Monday, February 3rd. And this link that you see here will take you to the page that will help you bring your FSRS roles over. I do want to remind everybody that even though your role is coming over, it will not have an impact on the current FSRS system at all. And you do need to continue reporting in FSRS. This is not coming over to SAM for several weeks yet. So we'll be guiding you through. We've got plenty of time, no need to panic. But these are the early steps of getting you guys, ready for the transition. So please continue doing what you're required to do at FSRS.gov. And next slide. All right. We do have with us today Adam Stansifer, who is the product owner. So we've been working very closely on how to best get you guys ready for this. And he's available with us for the next few minutes if we've got any questions that have been teed up. Allison? Whoops. Allison, not hearing you. Do we have questions that were curated?
Yeah,
There we go. Hello.
yes. So many zip+4 errors we receive are for the pre-populated address, not the population address in our report. Will this be an issue with the
Allison, your audio's cutting in and out, but I'll go ahead and read the question since I know which one it is. The question for everyone is, many zip+4 errors we receive are for the pre-populated address in SAM, not the place of performance address in our report. Will this still be an issue with the transition? And for that, I'm going to turn it over to you, Adam.
Great, thank you, Salome. You can hear me, correct?
Yes, you sound great.
Okay, so the entity information will still be pre-populated from SAM. However, you should not be running into validation errors with that because we are specifically pre-populating that information from the entity registration, and where there is no further data validation on that. We are taking it from there and we are repeating what is in the SAM registration. And to take sort of that thought process and apply it to the place performance, in addition to some of the checks that FSRS already has in place, we are implementing a secondary set of validations for location services to ensure that you should always be able to find the correct +4 information to correspond to any given zip code. So the amount of errors that you should experience in those cases should be exceedingly rare. And if you do run into any of those errors, you should reach out to the FSD help desk, and we will be able to help, get through the process of doing that. But it should no longer be an issue where the information that you're providing fails because of the zip +4 information, either in the entity or the place performance information.
Thank you, Adam. The next question I see is, let's see, for one of our programs, we do not use obligations as we are not able to forecast how much we will pay each CE per NSLP/SPP meals. What should our agency do in that case in regard to reporting, Adam?
So without veering too heavy into, policy or telling you specifically how to fill out your records, because that is more of something you should work with your specific grant officer. I will say that what people should be entering in the SAM subcontract / subaward reporting process is the amount of money that is either obligated or being spent on that specific subcontract or subaward itself. And then you should be just making sure that the record that you're creating is maintained and up to date with the latest amount of spending that's being done. So if, let's say I spent $1,000 this month, but didn't do anything next month, and then I come in 3 months from now and spend another $1,000, then at the end of that 3 months, it should be $2,000. But again, do not treat this as, an answer specifically to your situation, and you should be sure to work with, your specific, grant officer or contracting officer to make sure that you're in following the requirements of the specific contract or grant that you've been awarded.
Thanks, Adam. And I do want to point out that, we here at IAE, we want to give you a good experience and we want to help you any way we can, but we cannot address policy questions. Those really need to go back to, if you're a Fed, it needs to go to your senior procurement team. And if you're an entity, it needs to go to the agency that you're working with, because we cannot clarify or offer recommendations on policy. Let's see, the next question, Adam, is our organization has been using spreadsheets for the bulk uploads, but we've been told by our IT department that an API will not work for us. If I am understanding correctly, our only option is going to be to manually enter in all the data into SAM.
That is correct. The two options that will be available when we launch this functionality in SAM will either be the web user interface where you can manually enter it there, or utilize the API as a way to submit, programmatically submit multiple at any given time. As of right now, as of the implementation date that we're going with for spring 2025, there is no manual spreadsheet upload capability.
Thank you, Adam. There is a question on the clarification on the API setup. Can you go over the method that the API will use to gather the data for SAM to use?
So to make sure I'm understanding that correctly. So the API, the data that you would be entering in that API form is the data that you would be manually providing as part of the, the normal data entry form. So really, if we're talking about SAM data, really you just need to make sure that you're providing the correct UEI for either the entity or the subawardee or the subcontractor. And then you would also be asked to provide the information, the other information that you would be normally, provide via the data elements. So stuff like the description of the subaward, the dollar amounts, the place performance, that kind of information. You will not be asked to basically manually enter stuff from SAM. That information will be pre-populated based on you providing us a valid UEI or valid UEI in case of in cases of the subawardee or the subcontractor, or that you are using a valid UEI for the primordial as you're coming in and filling out this information.
Thank you.
Hopefully that addressed the question. Sorry.
The next question, actually, I could probably even answer. If we batch upload as a FAFATA reports user, will you have a training on how to do those? So the demonstration that you saw is actually quite similar, but it's just a matter of which workspace you're coming from. But the actual mechanics of uploading grants data versus contract data are the same. And that also follows in the API structure itself. It can be it can be all awards, either contracts or grants. Did I miss anything, Adam?
Nope, you got it.
All right. So we've got additional questions on, let's see. I am looking through. If I upload a new award and then a change order follows it, are you saying that I only enter the initial subaward?
So if we're talking, it might depend on and again, might be something you'd want to clarify specifically with your contract officer or grant officer. But the idea from a generic standpoint, so I'm just speaking in generality here, is that you would enter a subaward report for that initial award. And then at a time in the future, if something changes that materially, impacts the agreement that you have between the primordial and the subawardee, you should go in and update the subaward report that you created and make sure it reflects the most up-to-date information for that subaward itself. So sometimes that could be, we awarded it 6 months ago, but we just now exercised some extra money. Maybe you need to go into that report and make sure that the dollar amount reflects what the correct dollar amount is. Or it could be something to the point of, we changed the place performance. You should go in whenever that happens and update the report to make sure it reflects the latest and greatest as far as like place performance information. You will not be forced to do any, duplicative monthly submissions of things. And unless you are actually creating a new contract or subaward or subcontract agreement between you and the subawardee, it's encouraged that you would just go in and update the existing award. There's nothing stopping you from creating another one in case you did actually, create a brand new agreement between you and the subawardee, but it should be much easier for you to just maintain the one record for the subaward agreement.
My default microphone changed. You hearing me okay, Allison? Or
I do hear you. I'm not sure why I'm not being heard, but
oh, I hear you loud and clear now. And actually,
awesome.
Adam does need to drop. So what I would like to do is have those of you in attendance continue entering your questions in the Q&A pod. Anything that I cannot address, and I'll be scrolling through looking for the easy ones that I can answer, but anything that I cannot address, we are going to get the responses for you. And once we've got all the answers teed up, then we'll send them back to the attendees. I do see there's a lot of concern from people who
Correct.
are don't want to use the AP, can't use the API and have too much to do for to do manually. And so I'd like to, discuss those with Adam offline. Adam, I know you need to leave, so feel free to drop.
Yep, thank you.
Thank you. Let's see. I do see a question in here asking if there can be multiple spreadsheets uploaded using Postman. I'm familiar with the Postman tool, but to my understanding, we can only use that to download data using the download API. My understanding is that we cannot use Postman to upload data. We have to have the system account and the controls around that system account in order to write to SAM.gov. The video URL, the video that we showed you, it's still on our internal Google Drive, so I'm not in a position to share it just yet. The video and several that are like it are currently in approvals to get posted to our public site. If you're familiar with the Federal Service Desk, you can go to FSD.gov and just in the search bar type video, and you'll see all the videos come up for all of the capabilities. These videos will be added there as soon as we get through approvals. I mentioned that we're in a little bit of a backlog right now. There's a lot of there's just a lot going on with the time of year it is. So we are trying to get those posted as soon as possible. But again, we're going to have multiple trainings. We're going to walk you through, handhold you, and get you to stick the landing when we go live. Let's see. So there's a question here related to the columns of the existing upload file. And the answer to that is it's no longer going to be in a spreadsheet format. It's going to be in a format we refer to as JSON, capital JSON. And you can get all the information on what your submission needs to look like from the specifications link that we provided, the API download specs, or I'm sorry, upload specs. That will give you all the information you need. The slides are going to be sent out to the registrants via email. And again, we strongly recommend that you all subscribe. You join. Actually, the button I think is join, not subscribe. But when you go to our Interact page and click join, what that will do is every time we make an update, post new trainings coming up, have any updates that we want people to be aware of, that's the first place that we put it. I'm looking here to see if there's anything else that I can answer. And given the time, I think we're going to go ahead and wrap it up. I am actually going to go ahead and leave this session open for a few more minutes as questions continue to come in to the Q&A pod. But I would like to thank you all again very much for attending. And if you've got questions on, if you've got additional questions on the transition, you can find us at subawardreporting@gsa.gov. So y'all have a great afternoon, and I'll just keep the session open as long as I see questions coming in. Thank you.